I'm Sabrina Nichole. I'm an author, public speaker, licensed clinical mental health counselor, and aspiring crochet queen. But I am also an ordained minister, one who is a spiritual teacher, who loves God, who loves people, and I try to live my life with compassion, with hope, and with faith. I'm coming at you just as I am. Mark chapter 10, verse 46 through 49. From the New Revised Standard Version of the Bible, it says, "They came to Jericho. As he and his disciples and a large crowd were leaving Jericho, Bartimaeus, son of Timaeus, a blind beggar, was sitting by the roadside. When he heard that it was Jesus of Nazareth, he began to shout out and say, 'Jesus, son of David, have mercy on me.' Many sternly ordered him to be quiet, but he cried out even more loudly, 'Son of David, have mercy on me.' Jesus stood still and said, 'Call him here.' And they called the blind man, saying to him, 'Take heart, get up, he is calling you.'" I remember a few years back, I was completing an internship in Manhattan at New York University. I was working with the psychology department, really excited to have my first out-of-town internship. And I commonly either walked to the psychology building several blocks, or I would ride the train, as most people in New York do, to different locations. But one thing that was very consistent in my experience in New York was the presence of those who were less fortunate, presence of those who were experiencing homelessness, folks who needed food, who wanted assistance. It's not uncommon to see those things in most of our big cities. In fact, here in Charlotte, North Carolina, we see an increasing number of what we call tent cities, folks who are not having the best of luck in their lives and need some assistance. Now, I have to be honest and confess that a lot of times when I would see these folks, I would either turn and walk the other way, I would look the other way, in hopes that they wouldn't come and ask me for assistance, in hopes that I wouldn't have to engage in a conversation. Not because I'm cold and heartless, but actually it's quite the opposite for me. I'm an empath, and it often pains me to see other people in pain and not able to help them overcome their situation. These are folks that I liken to Bartimaeus. And it doesn't have to just be folks who are on the street or folks who are experiencing homelessness or various implications of homelessness. It could be anybody who's in need of help, anybody who's in need of hope, assistance, a word of encouragement. These are all Bartimaeus type of experiences. And while in comparing ourselves with the word or trying to find ourselves in scripture, we often will identify with the main character or the person who is receiving assistance from Jesus. We like, as far as the story is concerned, we like to say, well, I'm like Bartimaeus and I've been calling out. But I want to challenge us to think about the role of the crowd and find ourselves there. Because when I read this story recently, my heart was pricked. I was not Bartimaeus. I was a member of the crowd who silenced him, who sternly ordered him to be quiet. Although he did nothing wrong, he was crying out for help from God, help from Jesus of Nazareth. He just wanted to be seen. He wanted to be heard, and he wanted to be helped. How often do we silence those who are truly just wanting their voices to be heard? People who want somebody to witness and hear and experience their situation. Have compassion and actually help do something about it. My time in New York that summer was amazing. And I think back on it because I ask myself, how many Bartimaeus experiences did I have? And how many Bartimaeuses did I silence? Not maliciously, but because I was just navigating. And I was trying to not be overcome with sadness at my inability to fix the world's problems. I believe God calls us to witness and to walk with others in their times of need. It's interesting to me that when Jesus hears Bartimaeus and he turns and gives him attention and says to the crowd, "Bring him to me," that all of a sudden the crowd seemed to have this change of heart. They went from being this stern and kind of cold crowd of people who were snubbing Bartimaeus to this group of folks who turn around and then offer him encouragement. Get up, take heart, he's calling you. How interesting it is that they changed this just that quickly. But they had this transformation, and with it, Bartimaeus gets up and he's able to say to Jesus, "Have mercy on me." And we know how the story goes. We know that Bartimaeus is healed by Jesus. But I can't help but think about the role that the crowd played in that whole process, not just in snubbing Bartimaeus at first, but also in helping him find his way to Jesus, who was calling to him. It reminds me of someone who very often paid attention to the Bartimaeuses of the world, and I'm talking about my mother. In 2007, my mom was in the hospital, and she was actually there over the course of her birthday that year. And I stayed by her side as much as I could because I was just that close to my mom. But I remember the night of her birthday, I was laying in the windowsill and with my back turned to her, so she thought I was asleep. And I began to hear my mother pray. She prayed for everybody in the hospital. She prayed for the doctors. She prayed for the nurses. She prayed for the cafeteria staff workers. She prayed for the other patients. She prayed for the mamas who were delivering babies, and she prayed for the babies who were in NICU. And I listened to my mother pray for hours for everybody in the hospital. And I was amazed that this woman who had her own issues, her own problems, her own challenges, laid it aside long enough to hear and to acknowledge the Bartimaeus around her and bring them to Jesus so that they could be healed and helped and heard and lifted up. So I challenge us today to be the crowd after the hearts were changed. Let's give Bartimaeus his voice. Let's lift his voice, and let's bring him to Jesus. Are you enjoying the resources that I'm providing and want more? Well, you're in luck. I'm available for events, seminars, workshops, even book talks. For more booking information, email me at thesabrinanichole@gmail.com. And remember, Nichole is spelled Nichole. I look forward to connecting with you.